right. B-sides. STL. We're back. We're on the road today. Not really a road. I would call this a side street. Southside side street. There's no roundabouts. There's no cul-de-sacs.
Just the Southside side street.
Southside side street. No speed bumps. Limited amount.
No roadblocks. No,
none of what are those?
No concrete barriers.
The sleigh balls.
The sleigh.
Remember the sleigh balls?
Remember them? I pass them all the time.
I met one.
Did you?
No. I saw one person one day. Shenandoah and Compton.
Yeah.
They met one head on.
Oh.
And that ball.
And the ball went. I'm guessing the ball wins.
Yes, the car was definitely out of commission, but the ball was about 150 yards.
It's a competition.
Yeah.
Whoa.
It was out.
Well, I never would have thought that. Who are we listening to, by the way? This is...
You like this?
I do, very much.
It's a cover.
Okay.
This is a Ryan Adams tune, Let It Ride.
Oh, yep.
But it's performed by a true blue Granite Cityan. Mike Alvers is his name. Lefty Daytona. Spelled like it sound. Lefty Daytona. Easy to look at is what I've heard from the women.
Is he?
And the dude's going to play.
Some people get it all.
Well, I brought this one up because it's kind of like checked a lot of boxes for kind of the theme of our show, to turn over the underbelly of what's going on around here.
Yeah.
So in regards to this particular song and this track, number one, the dude's from 62040, right? He's East Sider.
Amen.
Ryan Adams, obviously, he's not from St. Louis, but the style of music, Americana, underbelly, it resonates here. But then, if you go 52 minutes slightly northwest of my front door, you land in Innsbruck, out at the A-Frames.
Yep.
We went out there in the wintertime, and me, my son Keller, who's at Belmont, and Mike, with just a little mobile rig and 2 days and 2 cases of stag and some, I'm sure, highly hormonal pork steaks.
The only way to do them.
There's not a lot of no hormone meat out there.
Probably not a Balliard pork steak, Alex.
I was going to say that I kind of times are tough. I've been getting them at Schnucks.
Have you?
Yeah,
you've got some of the St. Louis hormones in you too now.
I do.
Yeah, we went out there though because it's it's big wooden A-frame and the acoustics are awesome, fun, and
I bet
that was the deal. We just cut music for 2 days and slowly rolling it out. Painting a picture.
Yeah.
Somebody that's not in the region is like, what are these guys talking? What is this place like? That's what it's like.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if
East
you are
and way west,
if you are just listening on Spotify or Apple, I highly advise you switch the platform over to YouTube, Wave. This is on video too, so YouTube channel, go check it out. Gaslight Studios, it's our production channel. There'll be a link here in the show notes if you can't find it. But joining us today is one of you went.
This one's on me. This one's on me.
You went to the bullpen, so I'm going to let you.
I went to the bullpen.
It's your Harry Carey moment. Make a call. Let's roll it out.
So we used to host gatherings around St. Louis with newcomers who either married a St. Louisan or were moved here for work, and we were. I believe it was. Where was this event, Alex? This was at
Parker's Table.
Parker's Table. So we had just had a big old party right in the middle of Parker's Table, in the middle of the alleys, and in walks a nice young woman who says, "I'm married to a guy from D.C." Turns out he and I actually went to college together, Georgetown University. Did not know each other, and it was kind of like, "Wow, what are you doing here? And what are you doing here?" And we like to talk about the places that help keep talent in St. Louis and all of the under-the-radar spots. But the other thing that keeps talented people in St. Louis are talented people. And while it's a wonderful thing for the city, Alex Natsios, who's our guest today, was one of the reasons that I stay.
Is that the recruiting version of iron sharpens iron?
Iron sharpens iron. It's really it's that is the scenario of, I loved this city. I loved the town. I loved the neighborhoods. I loved all my spots. But when I moved back from Washington, D.C., I didn't quite have the crew yet. I didn't have the tribe. And one of the best parts about St. Louis transplants, which is what Acclimate, it became Acclimate later, was that almost, I'd say 95% of my entire social circle to this day were all met through that. And so Alex is a good case in point of somebody who could live anywhere around the world and chooses to live here, and I'm always interested in why. So foodie, musician, Renaissance man, all-around rock star. I would argue the best home chef in St. Louis, but he won't say it. I will.
So,
and yeah,
Alex, then you're not from here. You married someone from here,
South City. Yeah.
So let's ask the question: where'd she go to high school?
Do you even know?
No, she actually was in a juvenile detention. No.
Oh, that's way better. Our numbers are shooting up by the
She's
second.
outstanding.
Laugh at that, by the way. She went to Lutheran South.
Okay.
Her parents became Lutheran at some point. I think when she was real little, actually, and they ended up Lutheran Church, and then, that's all that. But she grew up in South City, and we live 5 blocks from the house she grew up in. We're sitting at the bar that her family owns, actually. Right?
And that's the Lindenwood Park.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she grew up in Lindenwood Park. Actually, she was born down the street.
Amazing
They
neighborhood.
lived in Dutchtown here at first, but then I think when she was pretty young.
How many years have you been here with said wife?
A little more than 11 and a half.
11 and a half?
Yeah.
Does it feel like 11 and a half, or does it feel like 2 or 30?
It's funny. The number, I only realized the number like in the last couple of years, and I think we hit 10 years, and it's like, we've been here for 10 years. And it shocks her too, because when she left, she was like, I'm out. I'm not coming back. And when we did decide to come back, we were living overseas. We met in D.C., we went overseas and lived in Southern Africa for a year and a half, and then we were coming back to have our first kid. Like, we're not going back to D.C. It's unaffordable, and when we left to go overseas, we didn't really want to go back then. I was kind of done with it.
Yeah.
And when we came back here, it was initially like, well, it's going to be somewhat temporary, and she had this thing about, I'm not going back to an old high school clique and circle. Like, I'm just not doing that. I'm not into that,
So it's what we all say.
The funny thing is, at
Literally
no
what we all say.
point has she ever plugged back into, they're like, oh, there's a reunion, and she's like, I'm not going to that. And her oldest friend and one of her closest friend is like, and she grew up in the neighborhood down the street. She grew up in South City too, right down the street, and married a guy from their high school that they were all friends with, and we're all really, really close. That's it. We see them and talk to them all the time.
What was that conversation like? I don't think I've ever even asked you in D.C. or in Southern Africa where you were, and when St. Louis was kind of thrown on the table as maybe somewhere to go, she could be closer to family, you could, maybe, getting ready to have first kiddo. What was that conversation like? And had you visited before? Maybe your wedding?
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't think I know.
No, we've never talked about that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because we didn't really have that conversation.
Really?
Other than, are we going to go back to we're getting out of here. It was stressful at the time when we were leaving. So we were in South Africa at the time when we would come back. When we were leaving our jobs, we were stressed. We were kind of in a bad spot, actually. We were like, we just need to go back and reset. And she's 2-3 months pregnant. We're not going to do this in D.C.
Yeah.
We'll do it. Let's just go to St. Louis. So that was the conversation, and I wasn't like, I was like, that's what we're doing. There wasn't really.
You didn't.
But the reason it probably wasn't a conversation is, I came to visit quite a few times because we were together we were in D.C. for 3 years before. Actually, let me think about that. again, how long were we in D.C. together? 4 years before we went overseas. We were together. We were together for 3 years in D.C. We got engaged and got married. We got married in St. Louis, and I wanted us to get married in St. Louis. I think I wanted us to get married here more than she did.
Yeah,
because I liked the idea.
I feel like you're the more. There's no
Yeah.
zeal like the zeal of the convert. You're actually more of the St. Louisan than the native St. Louisan.
Yeah, I don't know.
A little bit. I mean,
I don't know.
Not like,
I think she has an easier time dogging it, but
yeah.
she doesn't really.
Well, let's frame it a little bit
Yeah.
then, just for my sake, because I'm trying to picture the relationship culture to have that kind of a conversation. You told me where your wife grew up, where she went to school. Without knowing her, I already know how that life's. I know that chart, right?
Why are we asked?
Yeah, just take a second and put a pin in your own map. You're from DC, but most people don't grow up in DC. Where what kind of culture was
Right.
little Alex exposed
Yeah.
to?
So I was actually born in Massachusetts in a small town, no traffic lights, like small, over an hour from Boston. My dad was the lone wolf, like Republican, state level, district representative.
In Massachusetts.
In Massachusetts,
Yeah.
When I was a kid, we left.
Pretty blue.
Yeah.
Pretty blue.
Oh, yeah.
A little blue up.
And he always talks about how conservatives, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
In Massachusetts.
He's Massachusetts conservative.
We'll come back to that later. But,
Bush Light,
Yeah.
so he got
not just the beer.
and then actually perfect framing, delete the C, and George H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
He knew him pretty well because he was from Massachusetts, and he got a political appointment when he got elected in 1989. So we moved to Silver Spring, Maryland, about a mile from the D.C.
Oh, now I'm intrigued. What did he do? Because the poli-sci guy in me is like,
Yeah. He ran a division of USAid,
okay,
which was
back when Republicans liked humans.
back when Republican, and especially
Oh, wow.
I've learned. I mean, I know more about all this in history now than I ever did in the last few months, because our lives have been upended by what's happened more than I ever thought they would. But it's not just Republican. I think the Bushes really had a thing. I mean, they had a true humanitarian kind of inclination. I really think that. And anyway, my dad ran part of USAid for 4 years, and when we were done, I don't think he ever wanted to stay in D.C. I know he didn't want to stay in D.C., but the rest of us did, so we stayed. And so I moved to Silver Spring, Maryland. I mean, it's technically not D.C., but Silver Spring, Maryland is more urban than parts of like South City and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not really. There's several areas around the city that are like extensions of the city. Kind of like how Webster, some of U-City, some of that feels like an extension of. To me, it feels like an extension of the city.
Yeah. Maplewood-ish. Yeah.
Actually, Silver Spring is
Yeah.
close. The closest
Yeah.
thing is Maplewood.
Maplewood. Yeah.
But Silver Spring has a bunch of big buildings, and it's not as quaint. It's not quaint like.
Yeah.
Like
Maplewood.
A little
Yeah.
cooler than Clayton. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't say it.
I saw it. Look, go on YouTube. You can see the look on his face.
Yeah. And would you say Clayton is Bethesda?
100%.
Yeah, that's what I would say too. Yeah.
I like Clayton better than Bethesda, though. So I remember
Yeah.
I used to bartend in Bethesda in college. It's fine, but when I've gone back,
Yeah.
it just I can't do it.
So then going back to what you
Yeah.
had started describing and talking about we were joking about you being the driver to want to get married here, kind of now understanding, the Massachusetts roots, the DC life with dad, and Anthony, you already mentioned that you're a Georgetown guy. You meet this Midwest girl, you guys get to that point, it's time to hook up permanently. What's drawing you to St. Louis for the event, let alone moving later?
I actually recall almost deliberately seeking out a girl from the Midwest. I don't remember if I was thinking South also, but I think I was like Midwest, which was a little. It feels a little absurd to think about now because I've lived in the Midwest more of my adult life. I think number one, and number two, what the hell? I'd been to Chicago for like
Maybe,
3 days, and
typical
It was the
East
South
Coaster
Side,
experience.
so like it wasn't even like I was like, oh, this is nice,
But
And then,
was it like an inquisitive bone, or was it more anti-coast?
probably anti-coast, and I'm trying to remember now, but I was more politically was like more conservative, and was more like the culture of the East Coast and the Northeast. I was so finished with it, and I think looking back, and I thought this at the time, but I remember thinking back to it, the very sort of
There we go.
Sure.
Beers. First, you know what? Real quick, let me interrupt you. Stellar Hog.
Allen Cup proprietor.
Forgot to throw a little shout out there. All that fine noise in the background. You might even be able to smell the smoked pork through the mics. What? We're down in Leona, right?
Leona.
Yeah.
Leona, basically Leona and Bates.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Back to travels.
The appeal of a city that was much more like had a lot more hometown pride, and it wasn't so transient, and there was sort of a like kind of community centric culture was very appealing. And then I think I always liked Baltimore, which is the most similar city to East Coast to St. Louis on the East Coast.
Yeah.
And like it was funny because the first time my wife and I took her up there, and we went out boozing and all that, and like with some friends from DC, and one of them had gone to college there. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is a lot like St. Louis and all the brick and everything." I was like, "I know exactly." It's like, it's the people are. There's not a lot of fake kind of stuff there like you get in. And DC's not. They're abrasive like the East Coast, and that's fine. But I mean, I don't love it. But the fakeness is like the political world. The sort of political fakeness is what you get in DC. People want to know what your resume is and all that. And I actually.
That's their version of high school. Is what do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Lobbyist version.
Lobbyist version. Yeah.
But then
literally.
And then the
What
weird
lobby
thing,
are you from?
Yeah. And then the weird part of all that, though, at the same time, is like our social circle in our world was people who did foreign aid work, and we always worked for private companies. We didn't work directly for the federal government, so we weren't in this sort of we weren't in that statured area or like place socially of DC. And the foreign aid people aren't like that. They're the least sort of fake plastic people.
Beltway bandit like of any, not at all.
No, they're not.
So coming,
they're the opposite
Anyway.
of the lobby.
Yeah, so coming out of school then, the personal stuff's going on. Were you a USAID guy out of the gate?
No. I interviewed. Let me say this. I didn't really know what I was going to do actually, and it took me a couple years. I actually bartended for a year after college, and saved up money and went to work to intern at a think tank in Greece. My dad's side of the family is Greek, and I don't speak Greek. I didn't really grow up that culturally Greek, but a little bit, enough to have gone several times and want to go back. And so I spent a couple of months there and wanted to get the international experience. I wanted to do something international, whether it was going to be defense and security or something else. I didn't understand. I don't know that I understood all that well. I didn't know that at the time, but I then I really developed an interest in doing like conflict zone aid work, and got a job at what became the largest company and like partner of USAid doing the work on the ground. And I met my wife started there a year after I did. So that first year I was running around in like Pakistan and like just doing, kind of not crazy stuff, like scary stuff, not corrupt stuff, but I mean stuff that I was like, oh, I'm hustling these guys, these shipping guys, because the U.S. government paid for a bunch of electrical equipment to rebuild an electrical substation in southern Afghanistan in the middle of the worst war zone in the world. And we've got all this equipment sitting at a port in Pakistan, and I have to go figure out how to get it out and get it over the border. It was like a wild thing.
Did you feel like philanthropic born?
No. Because the interesting thing is, and this is probably
Which is exactly what he is, but
no, but that's because a lot of the aid people, like at least the people I worked with, which again were not at the government level. It was they hire the companies and nonprofits to do the work on the ground. Like the closest people to the front lines of aid work are usually not government employees.
Right.
So my dad's mentality, and I'll say it. My dad eventually ran USAid under George W. Bush, so my name going into the business was so known that it was harder for me to get a job because people thought I always had to make up for that.
So all the staff wanted to send you to Djibouti.
Yeah.
They were like, get rid of this kid.
It was more just like,
Yeah, what happens when you get the nepotism, label, but you're actually insanely talented? I mean, that's a tough cross to bear. Actually, I mean, I really mean that.
There's like I think people were like, this is going to be a younger version of the guy.
When you're not the idiot son, what do you do?
Tommy boy.
I found out, I got the job I got at 24, and I was like, I can't believe I got this job. This is awesome. And I was fucking paid like $37,000 a year.
Yeah.
And like, what, $1,200 rent at the month or
DC at the time.
And
oh my God.
That went way up.
Yeah. Oh, God, did it ever.
But anyway, I found out a few months after I got the job that the people who I interviewed with were like, they were like, we knew we were going to hire you like 2 minutes in, which is that's like a thing, right? I've heard that now since. That's.
Yeah.
They were like, but it had to go up to the CEO's office because they were like, we can't just hire the guy who just ran USAid for 5 years. He had left. He had been out for a year or so, but he was really known and really well respected, frankly, on both sides of the fence, and he still is. But it wasn't that they were trying to be controversial or shitty about it. It was just like, is this going to look bad? Are people at USA going to be like, oh, look what this company's doing?
Yeah, I mean, that's also...
they're hiring this kid. And they were like, no, it's all right. Who cares?
That's also during a time in which the death of no-bid contracts, right, from a corporate standpoint, it's all going away because everybody's got to have a chance, and yet here you come, probably overly qualified or adequately qualified at a minimum.
What it was, yeah.
And then you had a last name that's like, everybody's going to be like, is he?
Right.
But it sounds like it ultimately didn't matter.
It never occurred to me, but with so many of the family businesses in the multi-generational legacy economy of St. Louis, there are a lot of people in this town who could really probably relate to that. If you think of all the businesses and the names and the
that's an interesting
second and third and fourth generation, you actually kind of share that with a lot of
because
a lot of folks here in St. Louis that it never occurred to me.
Well, because Hollywood in particular and just kind of traditional expectations is the prodigal son is not capable, right?
Yeah.
St. Louis is a town of privately held companies that are multi-generational.
Right.
And tend
for every Fredo, there's a Michael Corleone, and we never really hear about Michael Corleone. We always gets hit with the Fredo.
Yeah.
With the Fredo moniker.
So let's kind of
anyhow.
Yeah, let's fast forward. Jump this jet around a little bit. You do the USAID for how many years?
Oh, until 5 months ago when these dumb fucks destroyed it, frankly. So 19 years. But I did the first half of my career, I managed projects. I did a bunch of cool field work on the ground.
Stay low,
sorry.
if you don't mind.
I did a bunch of work on the ground, like field work and actually running the projects. And then since we moved here and I was a remote, essentially like independent contractor that was helping companies win contracts, do the work.
Okay, so the timing is perfect. I mean, because obviously this is headline news, USAID. Everybody thinks they know, what it is, what it does, and how much waste, blah, all this bullshit, right? Just paint a picture. Take 60 seconds. What did you do within USAID?
So let me give a couple of highlights because trying to explain like a whole structure, frankly, it's also not. I don't know that it's very useful. There's an earthquake in Haiti, January 2010. Official estimates now is say 200,000 people were killed. They think it's more like 300,000. Absolutely devastating and tragic.
Yeah, it was a big one.
It was really bad, and I think everyone remembers it. It's not one of those things, And it's close to home, and a lot of people know Haitians, a lot of Haitian immigrants in the United States. That company I worked, this is 2010. I'm 28. I grew up in a French immersion program in the public school system in Maryland. My French is good. It's not absolutely perfect, but it's good. And I said, I'll go to, like, we get a very unusual rapid award. Usually that whole process is a whole circus and to do. Obama has $100 million. He says, I'm immediately awarding $100 million to do rapid response relief work because you have a crisis. I led a team down to Haiti. There were initially 4 of us to stand up an operation that was going to start figuring out how to clear people out of who were in refugee tent camps, like crowding the public squares, identifying infrastructure that hadn't been damaged to move government offices into so the country could start trying to function again at some level. What else did we do? Probably the biggest thing we did is you had thousands of people standing around with nothing to do in a country that was already basically a failed state with a major gang problem, drug trafficking, right? All of which affects the United States, right? So the less stable a country like that is, the bigger a problem.
That's the sight unseen.
Sight unseen, yeah. And what we did is we put people to work, and this is one type of work that they did. So I'll give another example after this, very different. But this was crisis response, disaster response, rapid mobilization activities where, we pulled all these people who were standing around with nothing to do, largely traumatized, frankly. I mean, I remember going into one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. We would never have been allowed into, or not allowed to do. You would not have gone
unless
there,
you're with Wyclef.
With Wyclef. Yeah.
You're right.
Well, but we also, actually, in all seriousness, the kinds of people we knew down there and were working with were that kind of, not necessarily name recognition and caliber, but they were people who were plugged in with community. So we could go in these areas. But
it was the pop culture expats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These were locals that could get you into areas with that, like, safely, right? But anyway, we got all these people to work clearing rubble and cleared I don't know how many millions worth of metric tons of rubble. There's a guy that's still a good friend. My wife and I introduced him and his wife for the record, and they will give us credit for that. But this is a guy who's, speaking of the unsung heroes, this guy, within the first week of being there, it's absolute, it's chaos. Early in the morning, we get to the office in this nasty basement. We're trying to find just anywhere to operate. We were sleeping on the floor somewhere at a house we got access. We were able to sleep in. But we're like, where the hell is? I don't want to put his name out there. But we're like, where the hell is he? He's been gone all day. And he shows up at the end of the day. This guy's a very understated kind of a guy, who can also drink you under the table like any day, but doesn't draw any attention to himself. No ego. End of the day, he's like, all right, and he's all dirty. He's got a rip in his pants. We're like, what the fuck, man? You all right? And he's like, yeah. I found the last 4 dunk trucks in the entire island. I found a company that can make rapidly manufacture or source a bunch of work boots, and a company a t-shirt company, a t-shirt press that can get a bunch of matching neon shirts, so we can get this thing going right away and mobilize thousands of people to get them back to work. Give them a bit of dignity, very small stipend, give them, I think, a meal or 2 a day, and it got everyone going and it got something happening. But it was all very coordinated and organized, and you go through local community leaders to make sure they're not just sort of spinning their wheels and you actually accomplish something. So I feel like that whole thing was easier to understand.
Yeah.
That project then went on to do a lot of other things that were training some people in rural communities on beekeeping. So, give them a livelihood and all of that. But that's the kind of thing that is more what a lot of the USAid work was. It isn't necessarily training. It's you're helping people on the ground develop partnerships with companies and organizations and things that can kind of sustain themselves, so that it's not just you're going in and giving a handout and walking out.
Yeah.
That was the principle of a lot of not all of the work, because there's a lot of health work where you're giving medication. George W. Bush's PEPFAR program is what saved 26 million lives over the last 25 years. That is more, they're giving medication and training people on.
So the poli-sci nerd in me, I want to take this one step further, and then we're getting into some fun stuff. Because somebody's gonna be like, oh my God, here comes JB politics. No, but because I'm listening to you describe this, and I remember the earthquake. I knew, I understood what was going on, and the reason why we help around the world is not just pure altruism. You alluded to
Correct.
You do these things in Haiti in particular because you do have an underbelly, you have a seedy underside that, crime is the mother of all poverty, right? Who is that? Aristotle, something like that? And can you take a second to just talk about like the plus one value of doing things like that because most Americans today, given the narrative that we are living under, are like, well, why should we help them? Why should we fix that? Let's fix this here, which is true. This is the walk and chew gum moment. But from your own perspective, spending all these years, the intrinsic value beyond just being a good human, what were you guys doing?
Yeah. And for what it's worth, I think the altruistic, I'm a Christian. I think the altruistic piece is important. I think it is. But I don't think it's absolutely not the whole story. And if someone's just doing it for that reason, they're they want to go to the church, I think that's fine. But you asked earlier, I didn't actually directly answer it, which was not on purpose. I think it's because the beers came or something, but about born into philanthropy. What was the phrase? The philanthropic or something about being born into
I'll think about it. Keep talking.
Whatever it was, the point. The point I think is more. I learned a lot of this growing up from my dad, and then the different people. There'd be people, high level and diplomatic kind of dignitaries coming through our house, and his mentality was. A lot of people look at this work from a humanitarian angle, and I look at it from an economic angle. And you're gonna have a bigger impact. He would say, like, I'm paraphrasing him, but I know he would nod his head. And actually, he'd probably go on a soapbox if he were sitting here and I said this. But
that'd be part 2,
right? Yeah, and we can look him up, and you can hear his fire and brimstone version of all of this, and he's much more compelling, obviously, than me. But it's. If you have this like savior, especially if you have this damn like white savior mentality, you're not going to be. Besides being annoying, you're not going to be effective. Okay, you don't go into a country in Africa or go to in Haiti like I'm going to save the poor people.
It sounds like St. Louis progressives.
Yeah. Besides being annoying, it's not
God. I totally jumped the shark there, but
no, that's okay.
Continue.
That's true actually, and that was the thing that would annoy my dad. The thing I've since observed is almost the same people are on the right as well. Yeah. And they're just like, it's not much different. They're like, I went on a church, like a trip with my church. And I think people should do that. It's good. But I mean, if you think you're having a big impact because you went somewhere for a few days, you didn't. You don't even know you don't even know how to get around. In a couple of days, you're going to tell me you're going to have an impact on the country? It doesn't work like that. And those trips aren't bad. Those trips can be good for cultural exchanges and relationships.
It's the missionary sect within MAGA right now that are think they're doing the same thing, but it's...
No.
You're not moving needles.
No. And there's people who know how to do this stuff. I mean, and, one of the biggest rules was always do no harm. You don't just push food out of an airplane and go, I don't understand why. This is a real thing.
Move over.
Right. Yeah. You don't just push food out of an airplane to people. It doesn't work.
But one of the things I always found so interesting about your work, and a lot of people didn't, especially with everything going on as of late in the last 6 months, who don't know an Alex Natsios, a question like when somebody talks about some of the programs and initiatives that they just absolutely raked over the coals in the media, something like Sesame Street in Iraq, or something like DEI trainings in the Balkans, which has a very different meaning than it does here. I think that's something I've always enjoyed listening to kind of talk about and know about, and then maybe that's another side of USAID that maybe not the general public knows. I don't know if you...
No, for sure, because literally yesterday was the vote at the time of this recording for the rescission package, in which PBS, NPR, everything else...
And USAid.
And USAID, correct.
Yeah. Like they don't sound like what... people think of it in the context, in the sort of the myopic viewpoint of an American need, and it's like that's not what's going on abroad. And so, that's a.
I mean, that's the part where I've kind of nerded out over the potential of this conversation, because that is my look, kids and soccer, wife. That's all number one. politics, poli-sci. That's my 1B.
Okay.
And so coming into this, and then the news cycle being what it is, and for you to come from a life of USAID, and obviously I had no idea that your dad was actually USAID. Can you just take a second and talk about this the cyclical nature of source, and what I mean by that is, Bush 1, USAID was extremely important, and so many of these things that are now under fire are really children or stepchildren of Republican ideology. And so when you sit here in 2025 and as your livelihood, your whole childhood, your father and everything that you've done professionally and personally is under the microscope, and frankly under the machete at this point.
Beyond that, even, yeah.
How are you coping? How are you dealing with what is transpiring in real time?
So I don't know that I am coping particularly. No, I'll back up on that. I'm not, and I've had scary health issues in the past. I've been hospitalized. I've been on the edge. I don't severe stress. This is not the first round, but the nature of this is different. And it's bigger than individual stress a person would, I've been watching, my wife and I lost our jobs the same week. And pretty much all of our friends and peers and all these people we've worked closely with and respect so much. And by the way, a lot of people who've risked their lives for the sake of serving other people and the United States' international interests and security at the same time. A bunch of people have essentially shown up and created this whole absolutely ridiculous conspiracy. Actually, not this conspiracy theory. The whole concept of a deep state. I wish there were a fucking deep state right now.
Yeah.
I wish there were. But I can tell you that I always knew there was, and that's comical to anyone in D.C. It's laughable. Because there's no single group that is competent or organized enough to actually put in place and activate a proper conspiracy.
Yeah, because they're all going to go...
Let alone the federal fucking government.
Exactly, because they're going to go to a Coldplay concert and end up on the Jumbotron and ruin their marriage.
Well, when everyone says it's all by design, I'm like, who are these insanely competent people, and how do we hire them, and how do I get them to come live in St. Louis?
Oh my God.
The whole... No, and it's just it's crazy. The most conspiratorial, corrupt thing I've seen in government in my lifetime is by leaps and bounds what is happening right now, and it's absolutely crazy to me. It's just crazy. There's anyway. I gotta get my soapbox.
Well,
now,
no, I literally thought about this the other day. Yeah. I was having a super boring conversation with another really boring dude, and the only thing that we came up with that was maybe close to a true deep state, dark, dirty, is Iran-Contra, in which you could just connect the dots. You could say, okay, here's weapons, here's drugs, and here's buyers in America. Yeah. Right? Here's a really simple triangle.
Sure.
And I know there's more examples that are real and everything, but what's being promulgated today and put out there, it's are you fucking... Who is this boogeyman? I want to meet this guy. When Deep State comes out from the Oz curtain
with the puppet, the string.
I
hope there's one of those in St. Louis too.
How impassioned I am about all this is because I'm living it every day, and because I'm not coping particularly well. I am doing my own advocacy work. I guess I could say, and I've done that the last few months. And it's not deep state work. It's just trying to say this is what the work is. How do we get this in front of people? Because I still maintain that there are plenty of people on the right who are moderate, decent people. And even if they don't have quote unquote moderate political views, they're not malicious people who, want bad things to happen. I don't think they are. I'm not convinced of that, actually, despite how cynical I've always been, and have become even more so. I don't think that's how Americans are. On the left and the right, I don't think it is. I think there's extremes, and that somehow they've taken control of it. And there's extremes on the left that have had an absolutely devastating effect in the country, too. that once again don't really represent the majority of people, even on the left. But I think the funny thing is going backtracking a bit on what I said. I can understand why people have this perception that there's a deep state, or maybe that there's a history of some conspiratorial activity, like J. Edgar Hoover and all that. That looks pretty conspiratorial when you look back at it. I get it. But the stuff that people cook up now, like the QAnon and the child trafficking in the basement of Comet Pizza in D.C. Have you ever been to Comet Pizza? Do you remember Comet Pizza in D.C.?
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's a fucking great place.
Yeah,
Right?
awesome.
It happens to have good food, and it was a cool place, right? I didn't.
And a decent piece of pizza is not easy to find in Washington, D.C.
No, these days it's better.
It's
better these days.
It's better.
All the food's better, but back in the day, no. This place doesn't have a basement. There's no basement there. Remember that whole thing where the people showed up? It was at Pizzagate, you know? Please. And why would you do it that way? That's a really nice neighborhood too. By the way,
I think.
Why would you pick that if you had? And people can't look at that and go, I don't know, Alex Jones.
Yeah.
I think people are like. That's just indicative of how bad it is when you think about wage gap and how real people are struggling
100%.
in any metro market. You know, when you're just staring at that rent bill, compounded by your utility bill, compounded by your student loan debt, everything else,
car payment,
and then somebody says, you know what? It's not your fault. It's the deep state, over and over and over again. Boom, there's your wave, and that's what look. Enough of that.
And I know I don't. It's not my.
Let's
it's not the thing.
Urban
it's not the thing. I haven't been fixated on the deep state concept the last few months. It really has just been. You just destroyed all this great work that people were doing, and you destroyed a system that had major dysfunctions, which were largely caused by Congress, if not entirely caused by Congress, and all of that, frankly, and all of Congress. This is not but people still had figured out how to do really great work on the ground and represent American values, and we just destroyed it all.
But see, this is exactly what I wanted to happen today. There are conversations happening in St. Louis about something other than Mizzou, Bud Light, and the Cardinals. It's true.
Are there?
Yeah, it's and even on some bar stools.
Have you
in
been
South
to Maggio's
City.
lately? No, I love
That's
all
true.
that.
Yeah.
No, it's one of those things because again, I think St. Louis is really kind of a unique petri dish for this exact conversation.
Yeah.
Because
I think so too.
We are one of my really good friends, Matt Stelzer, over at Amsterdam Tavern. His dad was Jack Stelzer, God rest his soul. He was a committeeman forever. He was a power player.
Yeah.
For the Democratic Party in Missouri when it was a true bellwether.
Where do they watch all the elections? At the Royale? Do they still do that there?
Yeah. So that's more the progressive side of the new disease, right? Jack was an old school. And Matt and his brothers and everything. They claim the Dixiecrat moniker. Sure. And it's this kind of it's a super moderate Democrat. It's hard on crime.
We used to be that,
but Jack was an AB guy.
Yeah,
right. He was union.
Yeah,
and it was this like, okay, we want to be inside the circle.
Yeah,
but here's our expectations. One of those, and it was very pragmatic, and I think that's a Midwest thing. And growing up in Granite City, Steel Town, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But to the point, people are struggling at exponential levels that we haven't seen. So now they're looking for a scapegoat, and I think the Republican Party is doing a much better job of creating an enemy.
Yeah,
that's the quote deep state.
Yeah,
and now they're able to sell it to the tune of cutting $9 billion out of in a rescissions package, and so.
Well, in the cuts though, the thing that's even worse about that is the infrastructure to do the work has not been damaged. It is literally gone. There is no infrastructure. There are no business systems to deliver and do the work. It's
scorched earth.
Scorched earth, 100%.
Wow.
So 83% of the contracts were undone.
So if you want to go back and restart it,
not only that, no. If you wanted to go back and I don't even know what that looks like. We're all trying to think that through.
Wow.
To some extent, but yeah. Anyway, that wasn't your point. It's still going off of my...
No. I think I where I'm going with this is like it's the Midwest thing. It's the St. Louis thing. I want to bring it back to the core of the show, in which when you think about other regions around the country,
Yeah.
a lot of people look at DC and they immediately like, oh, swamp, can't go there, too many
Yeah.
libtards, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
whatever. It's the most powerful city in the world, period.
Full stop.
There is no,
Yeah.
and you can look at Silicon Valley, you can look at New York, you can look at Tokyo.
Oh, it's DC now.
It is DC.
Amazon went to DC for a reason.
Yeah, and it's not even corporate.
Virginia.
The corporate, it's lobbyists.
Yeah.
Wherever policy is written, that's where it's at. And I think St. Louis and the Midwest in particular, like this is the cliche is we are crossroads, right?
Yeah.
This is the confluence.
Yeah.
And I think it's the individuals like yourself, Alex, where it's like you were drawn to the Midwest for a particular reason, had something to do with the South Side Girl, but culturally,
Southside Mafia.
yeah, no, because it's like you can have an opinion, you can be a D or an R, a conservative or liberal, and you can still integrate.
Right.
You don't feel like you're on the outside unless you get up too far outside St. Louis.
And can I go on this soapbox for a second?
Yeah, dude.
I love, I love politics here. I mean, this is, to me, Missouri and St. Louis. It's still Eagleton and Danforth.
Yeah.
This is where you go to a dinner party or we sit down at a table like this and somebody says Christian or conservative or Republican or what. You go to a dinner, you have no idea how anybody voted.
Right.
And in California and in Washington, D.C., and in a lot of these markets,
that.
it's not like that at all. No. And so I actually think this is an absolutely fascinating place to be politically. You understand rural, you understand urban, you understand suburban, we understand north, we understand south, we understand east, we understand west.
Yep.
We have a framework, and we're kind of considered being out in the outback here because we're in the middle or we're in Missouri. And I'm like, we are on the front line.
Yeah. No.
Actually, it's the, the Upper East Side. It's the New Yorker not going west of the Hudson, certainly not Pennsylvania, that really, I find this to be a fascinating thing and a huge draw, by the way, for people who are coming from California and DC markets as a reason to be here. They actually find it to be completely refreshing.
Let me ask you a quick question. Then what we're going to do, we're going to take a break.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that context? And then,
yeah, would you? I don't even know.
How would you? Is this a place where legitimate, new, good, fresh, edgy ideas through the lens of the political chaos that we have, the political, economic, etc. Is this a good place where you can actually break from those chains and not be saddled with you're a California liberal or you're
right.
You're a Houston conservative? Is this a place that you found is capable, or maybe it's not? And I'm totally cool with that answer too.
It's a really good question, and I'm thinking through. It's one of those, when someone asks you a question and you truly are ruminating over it. Like, let me think back over the last 11 years, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, me, because the 11 years thing. I think so, but I'm not sure, and the reason I'm not sure isn't because it's because of exactly where we are right now in time.
Yeah.
And the animosity and divide is so bad across the entire country. I think it is here too. I'm going to take that back. I know it is here too.
Correct.
Because I live here. But over the last 11 and a half years, I mean, the church that we went to, we went to most of the time we lived here. We switched over a couple years ago, but for 8-9 years, this church had drew so much attention. It's the Journey. I don't know.
Journey Tower Grove.
On Kings Highway.
On Kings Highway. Yeah. Sadly, the Journey was the Journey still exists, but they're all I believe they're all independent churches now.
Darren Patrick was my neighbor.
Really? Okay. And you knew him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we went there. He had an uncanny way of bringing people together, based on the gospel. That was the starting point. It was never politics, right? But he really could bring people together, and the whole culture of that church was. I mean, people always are mad at this. It was somewhat racially diverse. It certainly wasn't a homogeneous.
It absolutely was.
Socioeconomically, it was certainly not a homogeneous. At the end of the day, the way I would put it, was not a homogeneous place. It was the antithesis of that. And that was a lot of my experience in St. Louis, especially when you come to visit and go there. And I was like, there is nothing like this in D.C. And during the
which you would think is so much more
it was
integrated and diverse, and you think of St. Louis is completely segregated.
And I know that I know
Yeah.
since then that it's not. Sadly, I've seen, but I mean, they were doing then and then again later during the, race riots here and in Ferguson, and then again later. They were. I mean, Darren Patrick went up to Ferguson and walked into the protest and started talking to people.
Yeah.
I know that he did that, and there was a lot of. They were really trying to live out what they preached, and it was a cool thing. So I know that's possible here. I would not be surprised if there's people doing it here. I am not plugged into that right now, so I don't know.
Sure.
And if they had not gone after my whole world, that honestly, I've walked away from that kind of work, the foreign aid work, a couple of times to go do something else. I'm not some ideological crusader that's like, I'm going to, like I said, and I was actually right before this happened, going to go do something maybe a little bit, not completely divergent, but parallel, or, I was looking at doing something different. So I'm not like, but watching them do this terrible thing to all this good work that was happening, all these good people, and, just very flippantly, I'm a lot more angry. I would have been angry about the things that are happening politically with building a concentration camp in Florida.
Yep.
I would be angry about that, but I'm a lot more amped up about it because it affected us so
And did you
directly.
guys
So I'm not
switch
doing a good job talking to
congregations?
people on the,
Did you end up switching congregations for that?
not because of all
Yeah,
this at all.
yeah.
No, not
Something
because of
else,
this at
yeah.
all. Yeah.
So I tell you what we're gonna
Yep.
do. I'm gonna play a tune. Actually, this is from my brother. It's a song called "Back to Nowhere." It's up to you. If you're in your car, if you got that 15-second button, hit it 4, 8, 12. Hit it 14 times, and we'll be back. Otherwise, check out the tune. It's going to be coming out here in a couple weeks. Probably a couple months, actually. It's called Back to Nowhere. We're going to get some refills down here at Stellar Hog.
The Stellar Hog.
It just smells like pork butt in here.
Oh, my
It's
God.
like heavenly.
Dino ribs.
I don't think you
brisket.
can't.
Did-
I'm biased, but you
did-
can't
did
do
you-
this place. I'm sorry. Speaking of B-sides, I mean.
Well, you moved to the Midwest. I mean, did you know what a pork steak was?
No, well, only from visiting here.
I mean,
there you
is
go.
it or is it not the best?
I'll
piece
take it
of
over.
protein
You know what?
in-
At almost 50
in
years of
America.
age, I'll take it over a ribeye.
I would too. I would say that too now.
Yeah.
And I think, would you go?
It has to be slow cooked a bit.
Yeah.
And then seared off, or seared off and then slow cooked. And my father-in-law,
we're gonna.
they don't always sell it, but he is the.
Well,
We're gonna debate that. I'm gonna run the tune here. Stick with us. Do us a favor. Also, like, review, follow, share, any of that other stuff. Low self-esteem. It's all free. It helps us out. I'm gonna play tune Back to Nowhere. Dana Michael Anderson. When we come back, we're gonna be talking all things food, eats, music, etc. from the South Side here with Alex. We are here. We go. I'll see you on the flip side. 1, 2, 3.
I was younger, living off the road, and there was nowhere. Felt I couldn't go, now I'm older. I'm still working these same shows, seems it might be 'cause I got nowhere to go, and now I'm only being who I've always been. As foolish as that seems, my friend, I'll be heading back to nowhere once again. You were out there, living like you'd rather die than not be free. ships that made it to the sea. From the gutters of those dirty hometown streets, and two dreamers that refused to go to sleep. We were heading back nowhere once again. We're songbirds that truly made for life. They'll only leave if they have to take that flight, and while one rests, the other paints the sky. They'll reconnect in the gray by and by. Now I'll always know that I can never be free as long as you're not flying next to me. So I'll be heading back to nowhere once again.
All right, back. That's a sneak peek cut there. For those of you that know me, and for those of you that don't, Dana left a couple years ago. He was an amazing singer-songwriter. We still have his last album sitting in the can. He had actually started recording it a couple months before he left. And we're producing it now. So these are some of the rough tracks. So
That's amazing.
um,
I'm glad you're doing it.
well, you know what though, I was torn as to whether or not I would do it.
Really?
But given kind of what we're trying to do and the whole premise and like
Yeah.
that's everybody has a B-side part of their life.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world where
Yeah.
this shit happens. You know, so I thought, yeah, why not? Plus a shameless plug for Dana. He was never the businessman when it came to music, so if he knew I was doing this, he'd be so fucking pissed off. I don't care. He doesn't get a
The
voting.
artist, the talented artist wasn't the businessman. I don't believe it.
Yeah, imagine that, right? Who knew?
Never heard anything like it.
Who knew? Well, okay, so second half of this show, we're gonna get much lighter, more 314 local here.
Yeah. Can I do a shameless plug about where we are right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the Stellar Hog had a few, we like to try to find places that actually help this town recruit. And I don't know if anybody knows of Mr. Chime Time. Do you know who that is? He's a massive influencer, food influencer.
North Carolina.
North
based here.
Carolina.
Okay.
He does takeout and he eats it in the front seat of his car.
Fucking-
and
I
he
love it.
absolutely just mercilessly rips
He does.
everywhere
Tears
he
people
goes.
up.
I mean, I can't. The fact that he even got out of St. Louis in one piece is beyond me. And then he goes to try a place called Stellar Hog, and the reason he went was because nobody recommended it to him.
And
so
he hated the places that were recommended.
And this
to him.
guy,
Yeah.
because in the yes, and that's the important context.
Yeah.
Is everyone in St. Louis did the thing that St. Louisans do, which is you've got to try this one, you've got to try that one, and he was names we would know. I'm not going to mention them here, but it was savage. It was just it was merciless. And then he comes in and he said, I don't know why I'm here. He brings the food out to the parking lot, and he just can't believe it. How incredible it was.
He's like, this is not going to be good.
So one of the first thing out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So the only nice thing he had to say about St. Louis, what saved St. Louis was his experience here, and those are the kind of experiences that we want people to know. It's a draft beer. It's a small conversation. People always think from 50,000 feet. These giant civic initiatives and endeavors, which are wonderful. But sometimes it's the corn ribs and the dino ribs, and the other funny thing about this place too is that the chef and the owner Alex Cup is a vegetarian a lot of the year.
he was at one point. He doesn't do that.
He
has done that. That's true.
But he has done it in that. He's a classically trained chef.
Yes.
And then, and a part-time vegetarian, and decides to get into barbecue. That's an interesting story to me.
Well,
that's an interesting. And then the other crazy thing, and I'll stop with the shameless plug, but when the other people who own barbecue joints who never want to go out for barbecue go to eat barbecue, this is where they go. When you see Mike Emerson, the founder of Pappy's, eating here,
Mike Johnson,
like those guys, now there's something to be said for that, and that's the kind of pro tip and under the radar stuff I want the world to know.
I have no intention of throwing shade to any of the fine barbecue establishments around the area, but there is a certain amount of truth to the not lowbrow, not low bar, but the simplicity that is barbecue.
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah.
You give 5 restaurants same cut of meat. They're all going to have their spice and their sauce.
Right.
Temperature is going to be about the same, and the cook time is going to be about the same. Right. We're talking about
in paprika and brown sugar.
Exactly.
And smoke it for 4 hours.
We're talking about a very low delta, but it is an important delta. You got to be within it. Yeah. Now, I think what these guys have at Stellar, that is a little bit of the je ne sais quoi, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy to find.
Yeah. You gotta know.
You always got somebody
exactly where you're going.
You got somebody walking up to you as soon as you walk in, like, "Hey, what are you looking for? How's it going?" There's no take a number. It has that. They have Keishi Classics on in the corner. Right. Critical.
Used to be a literal biker bar.
Yeah. I think that there's a lot of that going on. Now, look, the food is good. They get good cuts.
It is, and there's the other thing, and so that your plug is less shameless, Anthony, because you may be in the clan, but I'm more related because I'm related by marriage, and the way how they are, I get broken out of prison at the same rate that the rest of them do now, like
correct,
married into. So, but what I would say is why is it different in a good way, and why is it right? So one of the coolest things here that I love that we don't usually do because it'll be later at night or something and our kids are younger, but I mean it's largely country Americana that plays here, which I love. And then, by the way, there's no bigger gap between the pop version and the B-side or the not mainstream version of any kind of music than country.
100%.
There's no. It's actually wild.
Yeah.
When you have Truck Yeah on one end of the spectrum and then you have Sturgill Simpson on the other, like it's fucking crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
The thing that's interesting here is there's people are these are artists. I love Nashville. I love going down there, but I love East Nashville and I love staying there because it kind of reminds me of what South Jefferson could look like if. Yeah, we got our shit together a little bit.
It's
gritty.
It's the Bucktown. It's Wicker Park, right?
It's like the gritty part, But even though I know it's expensive for the houses and all that, there's still East Nashville's a cool place. But some of the acts that play in here, and they play here all the time, and there's no cover here, right? Yeah. You can come in here and have a fucking ruckus of a time.
Well,
on a Friday or Saturday night.
I know through
live
the
music.
years,
It's
like
you didn't pay a cover.
Well, I know through the years, like some of the names that have played. Well, frankly, Dana played here. Dana's played here. You know, before he passed away, he played here. You got Emily Wallace, who's,
she plays.
in my opinion, if you're listening, just Emily Wallace. Go to Spotify, go to YouTube, whatever.
She's brilliant.
In fact, I tell you what, Emily Wallace. Go on Facebook and put in Emily Wallace, Hallelujah. And there's a video of her from her page. She was a bartender there years ago. And after close, probably 3 a.m., disheveled, whole night, she's just like, you could tell she's fucking beat.
Yeah.
And she's like, hi, end of set, you know, or shift, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to play a song. And she does a version of Hallelujah.
God.
And just... I was sitting there like,
Crushes.
I haven't seen it in probably a year, and I just got chills on my neck. And to your point, when you come to a place like this, Emily Henneman plays here. You know, those guys.
Maddie plays here.
Maddie Shell.
Yeah. And actually, my favorite is Hunter Peebles.
Oh, we recorded Hunter.
He plays here all the time.
Hunter's
he plays
man.
here once a month. He's bad, man. He's
Hunter,
badass.
Like if Hunter would hit the road, he is. He's a Ward Davis, Cody Jinks.
100%.
Next.
Would you say that there is a place where you could get acts to that level in dive bars, like you can, and you paid $5 and down for a cover?
Well, I think
that are, you know, is that still a thing in the rest of the country, or is that an increasingly a St. Louis thing?
Here's my 2 cents.
We're really spoiled.
You know, yes. And the reason is, sorry, artists, a lot of them are lazy. They don't do the work that would get them out of the 314, that would get them on the road, that would get them into consistently trying to break. And mind you, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Look, it's hard. People are fucking poor right now.
Yeah.
Right? Especially that generation.
Yeah.
To go get the van and get a bunch of buddies,
right.
Not only do you have to be able to disconnect, if you're a 4-piece, you got 3 other individuals and their world.
What do you walk away with?
That's why I love
$50?
That's why I love the Manis brothers, right?
Yeah.
So I was going to bring them up. I was sitting here going, how do I bring up the Manis brothers? Those guys
that's
are
my
sick.
boys.
Yeah, those guys
Dave
are
and
sick.
Jake.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think like this is the thing where, you know, to your question, when you stumble into a place in St. Louis that is within a neighborhood that is consistently known or does consistently provide music, taste buds are very finicky here, in which don't suck. You can't
really
you can't be shit. Because everybody around here knows. You listen to it. Know, especially Americana country, anything that's in that lane, don't suck.
Yeah, you got to be. Yeah, that's interesting.
Because you're not going to get the gig. Now, in other marketplaces, because a lot of it is pay to play, a lot of it is more volume, you will see, in my opinion, because I've lived in Chicago for a long time, you will see lower talent at, quote, cool places than you get here. You rarely see truly shit acts in St. Louis. And I think that's like this secret little byproduct. But to my point, I'm making my own point, they don't leave.
No, there's also, though, do you think there's a... I'll put this as a question, because I'm not out at the frequency I'd like to be seeing all this and exploring it, right?
Sure.
But do you think there's a problem with the humans and the fans and the tribalism of, like, you know, I stay over here, I go over there? Because, I mean, I'm guilty of it, but I'm better because I'm city. So I go to the places in the city. But, like... I have not gone to a show at the Factory one time.
You should.
Since it opened. I went to our church service because they had it there for Easter, and I was like, that's fine. And it's very nice. In fact, it's way too nice for a rock venue, but I've passed up not like one, but I think 4 or 5 shows that were some of my favorite bands I've seen every other time they've come to St. Louis, and I absolutely hate going out there so much. And I know I'm one of those people now, I guess.
Look,
like,
spontaneously turn into dust.
Like, what is this bullshit? You're stealing all the acts of
I was the same. But this is a St. Louis issue, though.
Yeah.
Because I was the same way. I am not. Stelzer, over in
Yeah.
Amsterdam, we would always joke like, people talk about, if you're in the city, what's west? And
Yeah.
I would always be like, look, anything west of 270, that's whack.
I fight with them all the time.
And
trust me.
and Stelzer would be like, look, 270, anything
Yeah.
west of Skinker, it's
Yeah.
shit.
That's really how they think of it. Yeah.
And so when
No street cred. You move to the west side of the park, even if you're in the city,
Well,
you have no street cred.
the factory though, it's super smart. It's a great venue.
Yeah.
And the older I get,
It's a nice
frankly,
venue.
logistically, I like parking's easy. It's not
Yeah.
going to get busted into. But the sonic file in me, it's a great venue to watch.
I've heard that
You go in there, and the pageant. Look, the pageant's 25 plus. Around 25 years old,
Yeah.
somewhere in there,
About
right?
2,000 seats, right?
Yeah. Well, that's its competition, and guess what?
Yeah.
Pound for pound, if they're next to each
Factory's
other,
better.
give me factory.
No,
Channel.
and the problem for me is I'm thinking more, and it's this is a great blues rock stoner rock band from DC, Maryland called Clutch. Do you know these guys?
Oh, I know Clutch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a very one of my favorite
Yeah, yeah.
bands of all time. And then there's definitely I didn't completely delete all of the.
Are you a Henry Rollins guy too? The old school DC punk rock crew.
So some of that Henry Rollins is fine.
930 Club,
a lot of
Black Cat.
Black Flag.
Oh yeah, but like a lot of proselytizing. Like I kind of, I actually more Fugazi and and the Bad Brains.
I like
say
that.
more than Henry Rollins, but and Black Flag they just added him from DC. They were from California, right?
Right.
But no, I mean the thing that sucks is I've been in the pageant many times, and the sound and the acoustics are shit. If you're not in the right place in that room, you're like, I can't hear a damn thing, even if you're high up. Like if you're too far left
Yeah.
or right, the way they I don't know what they did.
Here, simple
what's it called? The smaller one sound. The what do you call it?
Delmar
Delmar Hall sounds way better.
Yeah, they tuned that room well. PSA for any of you going to a show and you're wondering, what the hell is he talking about? I don't get it. Look, if you go to any show, I don't care where it's at, stand right in front of the sound guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Post up there, because if it sounds, he needs it to sound good for him. He doesn't care about the edges of the room. So go there.
Yeah.
That's where the best sound is in any concert.
But then I've been to the 930 Club more than any other venue. The 930 Club in DC was the pageant comparison, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it's I said it like it's I would consider it kind of legendary. It was old DC and it still survived the new DC, and the owner was always like, "Fuck you, Ticketmaster," and
Yeah.
we're never caved in their sound system, even back in the day when it was, their sound system was always really good. So you could always, you go in there like, oh man, you're up high, you hear it, and
Is the Black Cat still there?
the Black Cat's still there.
Wow.
It's still
So
there.
DC
I was like
kept
on
them.
a trip by myself and was like, went
Yeah.
to see some random bands there a couple years ago when I was in town for work.
So would Off Broadway be our 930 Club, our Black Cat?
No,
Oh,
930 and 930 and the
ticket.
pageant. 930 and the pageant are the comparison, I think.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're looking at covers. How many can
Yeah.
you get in? Because
Numbers,
that's- yeah.
layout.
How big
kinda,
was
yeah.
Off Broadway?
Well, let's have a little fun here. What size venue is the perfect size venue?
Old Rock House.
So you like that?
I don't even know. Maybe
300-400.
Yeah, I absolutely love the Old Rock House's layout. The fact that they don't rip you off on beers. That
Yeah.
they have good beers. I've always loved the Rock House. I know I'm not. This isn't a criticism. I don't know how the whole booking and promotion world works, but like
People do love that.
they're not. I wish some of it. And again, this is like subjective. I don't. Plenty of the groups I listen to are probably too big for the Rock House. But,
Yeah, it's those guys over there. They do a great job. It is a cool space.
Yeah, I'd love
logistically, look, they've got parking lots.
Yeah.
It's those weird little things like as you start to like break down the venues is important. But I think the cool thing about Rock House is it's got the second level. So have you ever been to the Metro in Chicago?
No.
So it's much wider, but it's got that balcony. And I know that when you're in the Rock House and then you got that balcony,
It's really
it's
cool.
got that feel.
It's really cool,
but
yeah.
it's tight.
Yeah.
But
It's tight at the Rock House. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
Yeah.
But the crown jewel though is long gone, and that's Mississippi Nights,
I
which
never
was
got to go.
and it's one of those places that
Infamous.
yeah, it was the place, and it's really kind of like it's endemic of St. Louis.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
like the so goes St. Louis. Mississippi Nights is one of those examples of like, yeah, you fucked up, you lost that one,
Yeah.
you know, and
Some things are irreplaceable.
so coming into St. Louis from a pop culture standpoint, you hear we've been talking about music for a little bit. I argue, having still travel a lot, work, family, soccer, all this other stuff, you know, and I hate the term foodie. Sorry, Dave, I hate that term, but I like
it. I don't like it either.
You know, like,
Yeah.
like I like good
In
shit.
Dave's defense, he would say we're a good eating town.
Yeah, we
We're a
do.
food town, but not a foodie
Yeah, Mr.
town.
Mr.
And I do like that.
Mr. Contrarian.
Mr. Contrarian.
You know,
I did like that solution.
I like where I think St. Louis really, really, really stands out is just with food, whether it's
Yeah.
breakfast or sandwiches or, you know, you pick your dinner spots.
Portions are ample.
You know, and I want to get your take on just kind of that side of the equation. Having moved here, you got married, you're here, you like food, clearly. What stood out to you early?
What stood out to me early were there were a couple of spots here, I think, that did not. I didn't know this at the time, or I didn't think of this at the time, and they're gone. That I really think were actually ahead of their time, and I don't think they were. I don't even know if they were trying to be. They were just like the best restaurants. Often, there's a lot of authenticity to it. It's somewhat like they really want to nail it, and they're really into it. It's not like we got this investor from fucking, you know. No, they're like, this is what we're doing. Stellina on Watson
Oh man, Stellina Pasta
was a
Cafe.
phenomenal place.
And
He
the
actually,
OG.
Alex Cup, my brother-in-law, who's a fantastic guy, and then Alan Cup, my father-in-law, his dad, that owned this place together. Alex's first restaurant job, I believe, was there because it's right by us it's in Lindenwood Park.
Yep.
Or it was, sorry. And Jamie Tocktrop, who was the chef head of it, I think his brother actually owned it, but he
catered your wedding.
He did the food for our wedding, and it was this funny thing where like
What a win.
we did our wedding at the Thaxton downtown. Is that still there?
It's still there.
It is
That's
there.
cool, actually.
Yeah.
But out of town guest stayed at the Omni, and of course one of the gals had gone to high school, and she was from the city, but she'd gone to high school with Nicole, and they figured that it had nothing to do with why we stayed there.
Yeah.
And she did all these nice things for us because of it. But,
that
she was
place
like,
was
"You
so
have
great."
more out of town guests for a wedding than we've ever had here." And we only had 80 people at our wedding, you know. But anyway, all the DC friends who came to town were like,
Yeah.
You
"What
guys
is
aren't
this
from
food
around
that you
here.
got at this wedding?" I was like, "It's just this dude that like actually is completely fucking underrated."
Yeah.
And that place, I was always like, "This is such an awesome,
I mean, that
chill
was the
place."
small, romantic, well-lit bistro before
And it had,
that was
Jimi
a thing.
Hendrix was on.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to be cool.
Not at all.
It was just like really, you know, the best homemade pasta in town. And then Modesto was the other spot we always went to. And both these places shut around the same time. And like a properly done Spanish tapas place is not, you know,
Yeah.
that's gold. And like a lot of we don't have it anymore.
So
and
that
doesn't have,
drew you in. Those were the first
So
two.
I think
like
those were two of the
those
places-
the toes in.
I saw some of the same kinds of shows at the Schlafly Bottle Works. I think I saw Brian Curran, who's played blues.
what band?
Really, I think he's always been just
Curran.
yeah.
Brian Curran.
Brian Curran.
Yeah.
Long hair, like blues, acoustic.
Yep.
He does electric too. He was back. He moved back to Michigan. I think he's from there, or he just moved. He was here in town a few weeks ago and played here. It was awesome. But I saw him, I think, at like the Bottle Works again, same thing where it was like for free, and I was like, this is a cool, you know, and like it's beers, and I'm trying to think where else. I mean, other like food that drew me in. I think we had like hill sandwiches, and I was like, I mean, one thing in the Northeast is not necessarily DC.
Well,
but
so this is
sandwiches.
a very important question then, because this is the Hatfields or McCoys, right? Because if you went to the Hill and your wife, family, whoever was taking you there, and you had to go choose sandwiches, you know, in my opinion, there's two, or there was roughly about the time that you would have been here, Amighetti's and Joyous, or were you?
You had a
Adriana's.
different take on this.
I've always gone to E.O. Valdi's. That's my favorite sandwich place on the hill.
That what you know what kind of proves the point of what we're talking about.
That's the under the radar choice.
And
E.O.
I always
Valdi.
get the same thing. So, here's the thing. Going through the exercise of
Adriana's, Amaghetti's, or Joya's.
going through the exercise of comparing them, I would love to do that. And this is kind of I haven't really I haven't prop. I'm not saying
it
it's
sounds like a road trip.
Yeah.
So you just keep going back to E.O. Valdi's when you get away.
Because I don't. This is the thing.
What's
I'll
your
be honest.
sandwich? What do you get?
There's only you get the. It's called the Chicago. What the hell is it called? It's Italian sausage that they make, like Italian beef, and it's got like pepper cheese and raw onions and pickles, and the combination is not really something I'd.
So you're not really looking to make out afterwards.
No, I don't. No.
But are you making out?
If you want to make out after you eat a sandwich, you got a problem.
Depends on the sandwich.
doing anything other than sleep?
Yeah.
And then what was your? I know some of your other when Stellina closed. What has been kind of? What's sort of been your Chrysler building, your stalwart that's taken
Here?
over?
And it's in between. I feel like we kind of were like there's good places on that, but there's one. To me in St. Louis, there is one ring to rule them all.
Yeah.
Right, and that is Little Fox in Fox Park. For me, is the first time we went, it was really good right before COVID. I remember going during COVID, and like any restaurant, it's like they did a good job given, and I don't know if this had to do with why we ended. They called us like 2 days after we went, and we were like, your server tested positive for COVID, and we're calling every single guest to tell them that.
Wow.
And I think they called. I don't think they emailed.
Do you sit at the bar? Or do you do the?
We sit at the bar. My wife and I sit at the bar every time, and we almost always go there now. And she used to be very much like, let's go somewhere different.
Were they
one of them is from St. Louis, and they had a restaurant in Brooklyn, I believe, or somewhere in New York. So I think it was Brooklyn. And then I don't know. I think one was from here, and they came back. But she's always at the front. And Craig is and I don't know them. I'm not saying, I just know,
sure.
and he's always in the kitchen, and he's always in the fucking kitchen.
It's St. Louis. Everybody is 1 degree of separation.
And what's your, when you're picking up, how did you find your wine shop? How did you find your whiskey? How did you find your butcher? And then the other thing I always love asking you about is the farms, the veggies. Where do you always get these unbelievable vegetables?
So,
like last time I was at your house, I had ramps. It's one of the best things I've ever had in my life.
I believe it was ramp pesto.
Ramp pesto. I mean, dude, come on.
Get it right. Get it right.
Oh God.
How did we? That's a good question. I mean, well, actually, I don't think it's. I think you just shop around and you try places, and it's so damn easy to get. You live in South City.
Do you still get the
veggies?
Do you still get the veggies on Morganford in the?
I go to Local Harvest almost multiple times a week.
A week.
And so we do a CSA. Three Rivers Community Farm is in Elsa, Illinois.
So you get your basket each week?
You get our basket each week, and then they give you the option of extending through the fall, and you get a few like boxes of like broccoli and cabbage and all that stuff. I'm like, I love it. And we've gotten. When we first moved back and we wanted to do a CSA, we did one that was like a kind of a startup-y thing, and they were really nice, but they had a hard time and we switched to the one.
Just real quick for the listener, what you're talking about is it's a membership with a local grocery store, because a lot of our listeners are like, what the number one, they don't know where Local Harvest is. Yeah. That's at Morganford and Arsenal, just south there.
Tower Grove South-ish.
Yeah, and
Sorry, I only do this for a living. Yeah.
I only know it because it's 2 blocks away from Amsterdam Tavern. Yeah. So I see it as I'm going to pound calories and watch soccer.
But these are the gems, exactly.
Yeah, but so and basically they fill these baskets with locally sourced veggies, everything, dairy, etc. Here's my question: did you expect to find things like that coming from DC? I want to go slow down in the Midwest, but then Local Harvest and some of the names that we've been dropping, was that kind of A, expected, B, a surprise, or C, like, oh, I stumbled upon it?
Did you think it was all Cheesecake Factory?
No, I would never have moved here. No, I actually expected it. I think Again, from visiting a fair amount, but and again, you know, my wife's from the city. It was like you go here for this, you go there for that. Even you know, she'd come back and visit. And
part of your experience
she's exceptionally
with the family
good.
you were marrying into.
Yeah, and they're
taste.
all you know, they're like you know,
One's a chef.
try the new bread place. Like the second a new place is opening, they're going there and they're checking it out, and then the people are going to be like, those Stellar Hog people were the nicest people. My God, they actually are.
Right.
Like they will, you know, they'll
But
go
I mean,
out of their
how
way
do
for
you? I mean, I know. So obviously, Union Loafer, amazing, but you know, you'll find Need.
No, Need is one of my
Is
spots. I
your
like Union
spot.
Loafers, but yeah,
And
Need
it's
is my
not just
spot
your
for bread.
oppositional defiance. You actually really find the
I'll
the
get-
Eovaldi's next to the Amsterdam. I mean, next to next to Joya's. I love that.
I like my Eovaldi. I do like my Eovaldi sandwich better than anything I've had at Joya's. And Joya's is fine. I'm not saying it's not because
Yeah.
I think it's
Be
bad.
careful.
I like
No,
it.
I like
it
it. I
better.
like the underdog.
Because I can
Yeah.
cut the mics in a second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's saltier. The Eovaldi's is saltier.
But
I
so
see what
you
you're
like
saying.
you like Need, and then how did you find Chris Bolliard? What do you get there? at
I think I
Bolliard?
just saw they were opening that, and I was like, freaking awesome. Like
I
had
found,
to,
I
like what do
found
you call
it
it?
through the
Yeah.
broth.
Yeah.
I actually just went to get the broth
Oh, yeah.
in the coffee cup and
Yeah.
then saw everything.
And the funny thing about that is, I remember my wife was in New York City like 7 or 8 years ago or something, and she was like, man, it's so funny because she's really good at, she wants all the nice things, but she's really good at laughing at them and being like,
Yeah.
there's a bunch of little broth counters in the East Village
Yeah.
now,
Yeah,
and
right,
everyone's
right,
getting
right.
their
We had
broth
one.
in the morning, and
Oh.
I'm like, that is hilarious, right? And I was like, but Bolliard's has them. And she's like, I know, they're really good, you know? Like,
Yeah, IV bars for hangover.
IV
Oh my
So you're
God.
gonna give me salt water, and I'm gonna pay you $80 for.
I've heard not that I would
Silicon
ever
Valley.
have,
Yeah, right.
not that I would ever have needed to look into this, but I've heard they don't really work. Is that true?
I don't know. I have a genetic disposition that is a gift from God, in which I
Really,
don't.
you don't. You're
I
one of
don't
the
get
35%. Oh my
I don't
God!
get, unless I really ask for it.
Both of
I don't
you.
get super hungry.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, the only time I will feel the pain is if I completely ignore food while enjoying
Yeah.
my beverage.
Yeah.
As long as I have, it doesn't matter. It could be a White Castle
Wow,
slider,
that's such a gift.
and I'm like, "Psh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
good. Wake
Yeah.
up the next day. Hey, what's up? And then my wife's like, fuck you.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah,
people they
so-
just don't have the enzymatic, but
Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah, I've always loved all the places that you found, and I like that it's a little bit off the beaten path, and yes, we've done Butcher, and then how do you find the Parker's tables or like wine and cheese?
Wine
You
and
know?
cheese place. I don't remember why I started going there. I mean, we like French wine a lot and Italian wine, all that. And I mean, I don't only go there. I go to Stars.
I
to
mean,
get
Stars.
seafood.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you find Stars
And
for
Sushi grade tuna.
That's the pro
And
tip.
sushi grade salmon.
Yeah,
Since,
I,
since
yeah.
Bob's closed, you got to go to Stars.
Yeah.
yeah, we do stars. We get the 1-inch cuts, 2 of them, for 5 of us. Keep
Yeah.
them up, poke bowls
Hell yeah.
all day.
Oh, yeah.
No one can find that. I mean, that's the stuff that the locals keep very. We gotta get that message out.
Well,
there.
yeah, along those lines. I mean, let's kind of shift into a little bit of I'm going to make you be spokesman / strategist because you're a transplant, but you've kind of dove in deep into the culinary and culture. I mean, you're talking about venues and, especially obviously you had a little bit of a cheat sheet here, through the Stellar family. How would you sell it? Like if you had to be
Yeah.
Anthony and people are talking about, hey, we've got these, this group of 10 that are considering moving here to work at Wells or whatever, what are you selling? What is the hook that is not, oh, well, it's affordable and you're going to make good money and your kids have private schools to choose from or whatever. What do you sell?
I will not that I'm not going to dodge that. The caveat I do want to give before I say anything though is I don't think I could sell this city to everyone.
Sure.
And it may not be sellable to everyone. Like that.
No.
That's probably true. But
it's not. You
no, you know
that in real time.
But even if it were, so like let's just say it were, I wouldn't be able to do it because I like a weirdo. I like to go find the things I like to go find and.
You don't want more people here.
And
You have
I
become
like
a St. Louis.
No, I
Yeah, that's
He's
Sort
one
of.
He's
Yeah.
one of
Yeah.
us now.
Yeah, but like the people at
Oh my God.
the bakery we go to, like they call my wife Alex's wife, and it's all, I think it's primarily females, if not, like they're
Yeah.
not. It's funny because it really, she thinks it's hilarious. She's,
Yeah.
and they're not doing it to be. It's just I go in there all the time.
She thinks you're a culture vulture.
I like going in there and getting it, and I get my bread here. I get
We can get there.
and then I was telling you yesterday, like, when my friends come from out of town, I'm like, we go down to Bulliards and get a good fucking beer while they cut your meat for you. They'll take you like into.
Yeah,
If
he'll
you want
walk
to
you
see
back
them,
there.
cut the,
what's-
Watch you cut it off.
the
the
Bulliards,
table.
like
what's the butcher down South Kings Highway?
Yeah,
Right.
G&W.
G&W.
Yeah, you walk in there and you.
Sold, though. They're owned by like some New York.
But they give
Yes,
you
but
they give you a cold can of Bush
You walk in.
while you wait in line.
So in Granite,
What other city does that?
in Granite City, there was Chunko's Market, old school butcher, right?
mean,
you
just
walk in, if you're a little kid, they're like, "Oh, how many little kids are there?" And then we get all these Smokies, the little.
Oh,
mini
LaGrange
wiener.
does that. Or they
Right?
used to do that, yeah.
And
Down
so
here,
when I
yeah.
walked in the G&W as a grown man, and they're like, "Oh, would you like a Bush beer?" I'm like,
Where does that still happen? It's so awesome.
"Here." That's why that still happens. So let me. I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, do it.
Like in our last episode, we had Will SK, really cool guy, actually from Maryland as well.
Yeah,
or
we've got
in
two
that area.
Marylands up here.
And he made a comment. He's like, the one thing about coming here is like, I see a lot of individuals that are able to be like, and he meant it not to be flip, but he was like Renaissance men that are able to have their job, have a hobby,
Yeah.
have an investment, do other things, still travel, raise kids,
Time to cook and
Yeah.
shop,
and that whole
run errands.
True.
It's stuck in my head, this Renaissance man quote, whatever. Is like, is that really the opportunity here? And it sounds like you kind of check those boxes, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
This
You have three
Ideological-
you have 3 extra hours a day.
that's
You're
a big
not
part
in
of it.
traffic. You're not on the,
So there's that.
you're
I
not
think
on
there's
the
also like, I don't know, is it fun to be a little bit controversial, right? Like
Love it.
Amen.
I mean, when you live in certain markets and I don't know, like social circles across the country now, and you have to like you're worried about stumbling over your words, so you say the right politically correct, all that. That's really irritating, and DC is like that. I imagine the complete opposite end of that is you have to come across as like it's some kind of tough guy, pickup truck, all that. That's irritating as hell, right?
Yeah.
At least in South City, and I do think the St. Louis metro area, you could make an easy sell to me that it's this whole kind of, I mean, it kind of is a whole hodgepodge of small towns all pushed together.
It's weird purple.
Weird, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes,
Weird
even despite all that, and to me,
Totally.
the South City, the city, I mean, I don't worry about what I'm saying to people. I can just interact with people.
Yeah, interesting.
It's pretty like, there's not a lot of people don't care about that. I don't think people care about it so much,
And you're saying that's the part that you kind of
a
freedom.
I've always liked that,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't
People
mean
who
that
have
I'm
a good
saying
sense of humor.
shitty things to people and like,
Yeah.
I don't mean that at all. I just mean, like if you're a little bit off
have a
color,
good sense
too,
of humor.
yeah, you're a little bit
Yeah.
off color and all that. Like I don't
Yeah.
know, no one's ever
Sarcasm.
Yeah, there's a
DC,
lot of-
they did not. I mean,
No.
everyone was so like,
no, and
so
it's kind of
serious.
always like that.
really intense.
Yeah, and the people that were not real, they were like Maryland people or maybe Virginia. I don't know. I don't really go over there, but
Can I ask you
yeah.
one more thing?
Yeah.
You have kids in city schools, and this is the other thing that the Alex Natsioses and Nicole Cup Natsioses of the world, it is possible to have kids born, raised, and educated in the city of St. Louis. I don't know that many people know that. What has your experience kind of been there?
it's been net positive.
Yeah, not that it's not work and have issues.
They're apparently about to
Good, bad, and
completely
ugly. I'm just
destroy it and
curious.
overhaul it
They
next
are.
week and
Okay.
announce that. But
Okay.
I don't know that that's fact. I don't know that as a fact yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have two gifted elementary schools and pretty close to each other in South City, and there's one in North City. I think is still there, but I think it's still a gifted school. I don't mean because of the tornado. That I also don't know if.
So you have to get in. You have to test
in
the public gifted schools, and so it's really only an option if you're lottery or gifted.
You have to test in, and then after you test in, you have to get a lottery spot.
Wow.
Everyone thinks that means so. If the other cities that do stuff like this, it's insanely competitive to get in all that. Everyone gets scared by that, and then you talk to people, and you're like, you're going to get in. It's fine. There's not that many people lined up, and then they get in. And then if you don't get in, you call the school the first week, and there's 10 spots because they didn't manage to figure out how to fill them. So from what I've seen, there's like tremendous dysfunction in a lot of ways, but the quality of the teachers, the families that are that have their kids in a lot of schools is very high. The management and oversight of it and all that feels like chaos half the time. Not chaos, but just you're like, what are you doing? What are you thinking?
Yeah.
And the place I've seen the worst, like annoying woke politics in the city is in the public school system. These people that come out and proselytize and are like, these gifted schools are stealing resources and blah, 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 and I look at it and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, have you been anywhere else in the country? You think these like super, super progressive liberal families, which is basically like 99% of the student body at the two gifted schools in the city, you think they're your enemy? I'm like, out of your mind,
that's not the enemy.
No, it's wild to me.
So are you?
But generally, the experience for our kids in the schools has been good.
You sound as if you've to date maybe avoided the self-loathing St. Louis necessary chromosome. Do you see it? Do you consciously try to avoid not being high school or
here's a few things I would say.
Yeah.
Even if someone doesn't know, no one has ever asked me that here.
Yeah.
It's like they know. By your accent or not?
It's that I really feel like
I was semi-curious, but
you say
I had thought Boston.
Really?
And then he said,
Massachusetts.
I actually grew up in Massachusetts. Fuck yeah, I knew it.
Yeah.
Bostonians love St. Louis.
I'll never move back to the East Coast. But I don't. So the most cliquey place I've ever been in my life is Georgetown, and I did not care for it.
Yeah.
My high school was not cliquey. My middle school, my elementary school, no job I ever had, nothing. Yeah. Nowhere I ever went was really that cliquey. And everyone told me, not everyone, people say that about St. Louis.
That's not been your experience.
No, it's never been my experience here, actually, at all. And the people we're probably closest to right now live 10 houses down from us in our street.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to know them really well over the last couple of years. And I think...
And that's Lindenwood Park for the listeners.
3 out of the 4...
Another under-the-radar gem of a neighborhood.
3 out of the 4... There's a bunch of kids, but 3 out of the 4 parents that, 2 different houses. And they've known each other forever. They're really old friends. 3 out of the 4 are from St. Louis, I think, and all that. But like the topic of high school and cliques and all that is absolutely fucking irrelevant. I have never even thought about that until right now.
Do you think that's
wait till I take you to Granite City, though?
No, I know it is. I totally, it's like I totally get that it is. But the thing I'd say that I know is, and then our neighbors next door went to Lutheran South, but they're city. Most Lutheran South is not city kids, right? But the kids who did go there from the city are much more from the city than they are Lutheran South, quote unquote. So it's almost more in St. Louis. It's like, where did you grow up? Sure. Would make a lot more sense to me than where did you go to high school? That's what I would I've observed.
So let's wind this down because we know that you have an event tonight, and we need to go off mic so we can have a little shot and a beer here before you roll out. I would like to toss down the gauntlet. 1 eat, 1 drink, and 1 venue. What's your last trifecta look like in the Lou?
1 eat. I would just go sit at the bar and eat dinner at Little Fox. Easy. Drink. I would go to the Famous Bar and I would drink some whiskey and some Schlafly Kolsch on draft. And that place to me is
famous bar.
You want to talk that's an interesting place actually for another conversation because it has such a
as soon as I stop recording, I've got famous bar stories.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and then venue
and artists.
Local is it local artist?
Your choice.
Venue is actually tough. I don't know. I love off Broadway. I actually love off Broadway.
I was going to say off Broadway and who's on stage. And you can't say Pokey.
No, I wouldn't actually.
Okay, good.
Sorry, not to hate on him too much.
Sorry, Pokey.
It's not really my. Yeah.
He's sold out. He's in L.A. anyway. What?
He was not even from here to begin with. Yeah.
He's a Chicago kid.
Neither am I guess. But who do I see? I'm going to do two. Can I do two?
Yeah.
Because we saw this. There's an outlaw country singer from Nashville, Nikki Lane.
Sure.
That my wife and I, you know her. We've seen her there probably three times, and it's brilliant. And that feels like a good off Broadway. But
Open Highway.
She played on one. Yeah, there. And another time but I did go to I still stick to metal and punk and all that. And like one of my best friends and I, we went there to see like a batshit crazy death metal show.
Love it.
Last year, and I was transported back like 25 years to. I was not flying off the stage. I actually didn't. But
have you been to Red Flag?
No, I've actually never been there. I haven't.
If you're a metal guy,
you gotta go there.
There you go, man. That secret sauce.
Yeah.
Level 10 unlocked.
Yeah.
Red Flag.
Yeah.
Anthony, pleasure, man.
Hey, this was awesome.
It's Friday. Feels like Friday. Starting to feel like Friday. Didn't feel like Friday earlier.
It really didn't. It was definitely a Thursday morning for some reason,
Yeah.
but it is becoming a Friday afternoon. And I don't know. I think for a B-side pro tip episode, second half of this show, man, there's some gems in there.
I mean, we went from
this is
Haiti USAID to Red Flag metal.
Yeah.
Checking boxes.
You got me.
Yeah.
Alex, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks a lot, guys.
It's been a pleasure. I'm gonna roll us out of here. I'm gonna toss one more Dana tune out here. It's Friday, a little reminiscing. Bad Tattoo. I'm gonna play it out. Go ahead and listen. It's gonna be dropping here in probably a month or two. We all have them. Actually, I don't have them. I have one tattoo. It's because of those fuckers, my brothers and family. So if you got a bad tattoo, here's one for you. Alex, pleasure. Down here at Stellar Hog. Anthony,
pleasure.
As always, we're gonna roll out.
Thank you,
Dana Michael Anderson, Bad Tattoo, Rough Cut. You're welcome. Everybody likes the B-side shit, right? Here's an ultimate B-side for you. Later.
Get a bad tattoo.